What does everyone criticize but still do anyway? Judging people, one must never fail to pronounce moral judgment. Nothing can corrupt and disintegrate a culture or a man's character as thoroughly as does the precept of moral agnosticism, the idea that one must never pass moral judgment on others, that one must be morally tolerant of anything, that the good consists of never distinguishing good from evil. It is obvious who profits and who loses by such a precept. It is not justice or equal treatment that you grant to men when you abstain equally from praising men's virtues and from condemning men's vices. When your impartial attitude declares, in effect, that neither the good nor the evil may expect anything from you, whom do you betray and whom do you encourage? I usually judge people in relation to myself. Ugh, their life is perfect. Why are they so much more resilient to emotional trauma? They're so much better than me at being sociable and charming. It's mostly positive about other people, but it's super negative for me to have this mindset. It's probably ruining my life, to be honest. Well, despite popular belief, even Jesus didn't say, "Judge not," in the way that modern audiences want to think he did. I mean, right afterward he said, "Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and rend you." So how can you judge who are the dogs or the pigs without some judgment? What is bad is prejudging others based on outward appearance or superficial things. He likes Nickelback, therefore he's stupid. In some ways, I sort of view judging as simply having an opinion. You might say you look at a morbidly obese person and pass no judgment, but you have no opinion at all. I find that hard to believe. At a minimum, I think we subconsciously judge that person. But most of us forget about it 30 seconds later because we start thinking about ourselves again. The people that suck are the ones who crack a joke, make a comment directly to the person, spend hours on fat people hate or whatever that subreddit was, etc. Anyone is free to hold the opinion that fat people are gross, but you really need to spend hours online talking to other people about how much you hate them. Get a life. I think this generation has a problem with judging people. Every day on Reddit I read, X is a piece of shit because he did Y or something. Okay, so yeah, aren't there messed up things you've done in your life? Just the entire process of global exploitation. That goes into the computer you use to judge people and which you willingly take advantage of. Are we going to become a society where you can't do anything wrong without being judged eternally for it? It's not that people haven't done abhorrent things and shouldn't be called out for it once in a while. It's just that whenever anyone is brought up, some post-Christian moralist trots out some self-righteous condemnation of whatever bad shit that person has done according to whatever the whims of society are at the time. You know, I feel like judging people is quite important. If it's genuinely not biased shaming. Like, would you want to date a girl who just twerked on 4 dudes at the club while super drunk, till she vomits on her cup and drinks it again, while she's also known as the fuckdol in that club? You can almost make out the general personality you're dealing with, and have the right to decide whether or not you want to be with her, before even meeting her. I see the irony in my comment, but just bear with me. People criticize Nestle, yet still buy Nestle. Nestle is everywhere, especially when you realize what they own under them, partially or fully. Suddenly, you have body care, baby care, pet food, and some pet care, cleaning agents, etc. Half of these things they also own other titles and brandings that on the surface look like they are competitors. Like, I think they own 5 different cat food brandings. Basically speaking, if you were to divide a typical large grocery store, you will see Nestle at the top of total shelf space, or a close second. And depending where you live, it can be pushed further than just the majority. Hey, individual random people are having a hard time going up against this giant organization worth billions of dollars, employing millions of people to do its will. It's too bad there's not a competing organization with comparable funding and manpower dedicated to doing the people's will to govern these massive corporations. Say, call it a government. Oh well, you as an individual clearly don't care enough about the planet or your fellow man. Nothing else to do. Talking bad about people, I've recently had to look at myself with this. I have a coworker who is constantly ting on other coworkers behind their back. It's really annoying, but it made me think about all the times I've made a comment about my coworkers. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it all the time, but I really shouldn't do it at all. It's like, damn, talking about people really makes you look like an hole. Though I don't talk bad, I do joke around a lot. That said, the joking contains more than a grain of truth, so it comes out the same. I've started making efforts to talk people up behind their backs, especially since I've seen a lot of missing communication since COVID hit. I talk to a ton of people in my travels at work, so I try to spread the good things I see and hear both up and down the chain. Things that tend to go unsaid, but can mean a lot to the people who need to hear it. I hope it helps the right person at the right time as I go trying to work on personal change. Win or win, hopefully. I dunno, there's a difference between griping about their behavior in the workplace that has actual effects on you, versus spreading their personal issues that aren't your business. My workplace has one guy at the moment who has managed to get everyone offside by being continually flaky, egregiously late and incompetent, seemingly with no problems at home or whatever to explain it. He is a nice guy, so I try not to hate on him too much, but I don't like having to wait around an hour after my shift should have finished any more than anyone else does. Something I'm trying to fix myself this year. Hard to do when it's all my friends do, including about me, but then we're all losing. The part I'm struggling with is, if someone is a poss, what do you do about it? If someone is being a dick to you, you can't just let them get away with it. I noticed that there's a big difference between venting, unpacking, and talking crap. It's about how you say it and who you say it to. For example, if your coworker does something rude or otherwise frustrating, it's okay to go home to your spouse, friend and say, "This person did, and it made me feel." It's not okay to go to your other coworkers and say, "This person did, they're so annoying." Good rule of thumb is don't talk crap about someone to someone else who knows them. And don't talk crap if you plan to introduce them. And don't say things that are unnecessarily mean-spirited. If you're having a really hard time curbing the habit, get yourself one very good friend you can talk on everyone else with. Lol, then save it all for that person. Just make sure they're not spilling your secrets on the side. Being stingy with money. I love charity in concept, but having people walking up to me asking for small amounts of money annoys me so much more than it really should. I'd rather a poor person ask me for money than companies that profit billions asking me for my fucking change everywhere I go. Kroger, McDonald's, gas stations. Our employees make $9 an hour. Our prices have tripled in the past year as the quality has dropped significantly. If 3 people in our company took a 50% pay cut, they'd still be in the top 1% of richest people in the world. We could give 25% of that to all of our employees and stabilize millions of their lives. We could give the other 25% to charity ourselves and change the world. Anyways, ignore all of that. How about we guilt trip you into trying to get your change that you probably need just as much as the people we claim to give it to? We promise this isn't a publicity stunt to fool the ignorant into ignoring the previous statements above. I mean, come on guys. How are we supposed to be able to buy a yacht for our smaller yacht to fit in if we took pay cuts? You people are already poor anyways and are still surviving, so why don't you just give us some spare change? I mean, after all, there are much more of you poors than there are us. You can feel good if you all come together and help the community. I wouldn't want to have all the praise. I'd rather sit back in the shadows and hope you guys never notice how badly we're destroying modern civilization due to our greed. I don't know. I live in Baltimore. The amount of times I get asked for money is literally like 5 times a day. At first, I was fine with it. Then it got really annoying really fast. Especially when they give you a whole story that is clearly memorized, then you see them a second and third time, and it's the same story, and they clearly don't remember you. The amount of times this same guy has told me he is pants in public, is embarrassed asking for money, and hates black people today. He is black, is way too damn high. The worst part is I tell him that he has told me this story before, and he keeps going trying to make me feel guilty like, bro, I know your whole routine, and I'm actually not that good a person. About how dumb everyone is getting, and then do nothing to promote good learning habits at home. Parents bear some responsibility for their child's learning. Stop dumping it all on teachers and the government. I got told by a friend that the school is there to teach their kids everything. The only thing parents teach is morals. This idiot has 2 kids who are absolutely set up to fail in life. One can't read, is constantly holding a teddy bear, and is somehow close to graduating high school. And the other is an aggressive twit who still throws 3-0 tantrums when things do not go their way. But apparently the school system is to blame. I'm not bragging or anything because I think my child deserves most of the credit, but in my house, we do a lot of reading together, explore different topics, etc. She recently got a rock tumbler from a relative for Christmas, and now we're using that to learn about different kinds of rocks and stuff together. It boggles my mind at how some parents are cool with just unlimited screen time and never actually talk with their kids and try to teach them anything. Social media in general. Twitter is a hellhole, but still the best way of following people whose work I enjoy. TikTok is a waste of time, but it gives me an endless supply of cute animal videos. Reddit is Reddit. I hate them all but keep going back for more. It's such a time suck when I could be doing better things like reading or learning something or going outside. But I still do it. Honestly, if I didn't have all my friends and family halfway across the country, probably would nix it. Judging others. Is it possible to actually never judge a person based on their actions, appearances, or beliefs? Personally, I'm not so sure. I would say it's impossible on some level. Our brains are wired to judge people. It's essential for survival. Is this a friend or an enemy? Are they going to help me or hurt me? Will they be an ally or a competitor or a predator or a prey? Is what they are doing right or wrong? But that doesn't mean we have to act on those judgments or refine those judgments to be more accurate. I had a debate in philosophy class on this. We concluded it is impossible since using our judgment is a natural thing to do. For example, you see someone trying to kill themselves. You judge that it is not safe and life is worth living. From that, you try save them. You judge them because they were making a bad decision. Judging others isn't what most people think it is, since it happens naturally and isn't necessarily bad. We should teach people to stop trying not to judge others, if that makes sense, and instead use their judgment for good. Procrastination may be criticized by many, but let's face it, it's a habit that's tough to shake. The reasons behind it are complex and can range from fear of failure to lack of motivation. Despite its negative effects, like increased stress and decreased productivity, it's still a common habit for many. It's also easy for people to make excuses their own procrastination while calling others lazy. When I'm procrastinating is because my anxiety is flaring up, or I forgot, or I got too busy. When you procrastinate, it's just because you're lazy. Exceptionalism in a nutshell. It's a great cop-out for those of us who avoid personal accountability, but demand it of others. Almost everything. People are, by nature, hypocrites. We impute virtues onto those things we approve and vices onto those we disapprove, and nothing will change our perception on those things. We say we do, but none of us do. None of us. I don't care if it's politics, or hobbies, or your workplace, or whatever. I guarantee any one of us could easily take 2 opinions, strip them of objective measures, and they'd be opposed. If, for example, you rage as an IT person about how stupid people are and have proof, because you deal with it every day, I guarantee there's something out there, ordering at a restaurant, calling about your water bill, etc., where you're the stupid one, and they have proof, and you're one of the data points. Politics, don't make me laugh. Your side does the exact same as the other side. You just excuse it when your side does it because it's for a good reason, and vilify the other side when they do it because it's different. No, oh, it's not. And yes, this is very explicitly a both sides comment. You can argue about the big picture stuff about policies, that's valid. But don't say, my side won't manipulate the media, or my side won't use parliamentary tricks, or my side won't stoop to petty personal issue, because that's all complete dog. Both sides do it all the time, and you're just blind to it because of your biases. I could go on, and I know some of you reading this are, oh no, and the people are like that. I'm ideologically pure and intellectual enough not to be a hypocrite, and I'm sure in my beliefs that I'm not. And you are by far the biggest fucking hypocrites in the room, and you're too self-involved to know it. So many people are overweight, but criticize others' eating, exercise habits. It's easy to preach, but hard to actually do. I have an eating disorder, and at one point when I was underweight and supposed to be on a meal plan to gain weight, I had a roommate who was severely overweight and trying to lose. She was constantly judging me for eating dessert. The twist is, I was losing weight because even though I ate unhealthy foods, I wasn't eating enough. She was gaining weight and couldn't figure out what she was doing wrong, and I didn't know how to tell her without being a jerk. Smoking cigarettes, yes. I know they cost lots of money. They're gross, smelly, blah blah blah. I gave up alcohol, self-harm, pills, my eds. I'm not giving up my smoking. I know I stink. I know everyone hates it. Yes, I do like going outside and I'm barefoot in my boxers and sports bra in freezing weather just for a cigarette. Yes, I do like not being able to smell or taste. Never cared for any of that. Yes, I do like people not being around me. No, I don't care about the $200 I lose every month just to risk cancer. Driving incompetently. We all criticize it, especially when it inconveniences us. But chances are we've all been TA on the road to the drivers around us for some mistake, oversight, miscalculation, or other action we feel is justified in our driver's seat. That is everyone else kinda questioning who the hell gave our dumb asses a license and will fafkin do it again. Human nature plus confirmation bias equals everyone sucks at driving but me. Supporting J.K. Rowling. Everyone is all up in arms about her transphobic comments, and rightfully so. But most of them have kept their books, their movies, and still pump a lot of money into the Harry Potter merch machine every year. They still have their shirts, their book bags, their coffee cups. They're themed to notebooks, Halloween costumes. I bet most of them will buy Hogwarts Legacy too. I asked one of my friends about this, a friend who has a trans brother but is still a militant Harry Potter fan, and she said, well, I don't see a reason to give up on a fandom that's meant so much to me. Ing about your friends when they are not there. Basically, as much as you genuinely like your friends, it is normal that some things they do piss you off. Getting that off of your chest with the occasional ing session is not only normal, but actually very healthy. The things you're ing about are just annoyances and nothing worth confronting the friend about. It is important to remember that people who do this like these people despite these flaws. Ing about someone is not the same as being two-faced behind their back. It's just a social stress reliever. Tell people who have more than them to check their privileges or to cut back on their consumption. Most of us here live a life in a commonwealth country with colonial mentalities. Too much of the world think we are corrupt pigs because of it. But the reality is everyone has had the yarn spun on them one way or another, and we aren't the same people that built the world that it is today. We were born and raised with these mentalities and expectations out of one another to the point that it separates us. But we do have the opportunity to change that, and we realize this, but don't act on it. Animal cruelty. People don't do it actively obviously, but they basically pay people to do it for them by purchasing any animal product, even if not knowing it. An even better example for that are zoos and aquariums. And just in case, I know the people working in those love animals, and they wouldn't torture, hurt or them, but by keeping them in captivity for no factual reason, it can be labeled as being cruel. And no, nearly all of those animals are not saved from extinction. I find it funny how people criticize rich people for spending money on or buying things that they don't need, instead of using that money to help others when those same people are buying big screen TVs, computers, headphones, tablets, other random electronics, going out to bars, buying alcohol, choosing to own pets which they then have to buy things for, buying cigarettes, vapes, weed, etc. You get the idea. While you all buy you don't need rather than give it to those who actually need it. You only get mad when rich people do it because they have more money than you, and therefore can buy ridiculously expensive things. And then you say things like, well yeah, but they have millions of dollars. Yeah, okay, that seems like a lot to you because you make minimum wage. But what you make also seems like a lot to a homeless person who literally has nothing. So it's literally all relative. A starving child could just as easily look at you and think you're selfish and greedy as you do when you look at rich people and think they're selfish and greedy. Carbon footprints. So many people criticize people who own trucks or use fossil fuels while traveling on jets frequently themselves, or owning multiple cars, or having large houses, which means large carbon footprint. They could be living minimalist lifestyles and growing their own foods, and living off of local grown stuff that doesn't require shipping from far away, furthering a carbon footprint. They could be spending their money on solar panels, or making their houses more efficient instead of buying goods they don't need or traveling. The worst offenders are our politicians and celebrities. Talking about others in a negative light. Sometimes it is done intentionally and sometimes without realizing, but over the last year or so, I've realized a lot of people comment on others, but won't make that same comment to them directly, whether it be because they are simply two-faced, or because they just don't want to start a conflict with that person. When done unconsciously, it can be a tough habit to break. But if you have a comment or complaint about someone, it is always better to say it to their face. While it may cause issues temporarily, it guarantees you didn't have someone else you told change your words around, starting a more serious issue. Complaining about the previous generations and the next ones, as in your generation is the best. You were the lucky one to be born in the best generation ever. Everyone before you sucked. Everyone after you also sucks. I remember people talking about how there was such a huge generation gap between us and boomers. But we are better since we'll be the cool ones who will be playing video games with our grandchildren. Unlike our boomer parents, we will be having the same hobbies, and thus won't be detached and boring like our ancestors. And then those same people, 5 minutes later, would literally on kids younger than them by merely 10 years, because they were listening to the wrong music, or playing the wrong video game, or watching the wrong movies. They were back in my dang, not even about people born 30 years after them, but a decade or even less. I'm a 90 seconds kid, so unlike you who don't know what good games were like back in my day, said the 20-something-year-old to the 20-year-old. Yeah, no dude. You'll be just as annoying and out of touch as a 60-year-old to the teenagers of the future, as was your dad and granddad to you, if not more. Using inhumanly sourced products. When you look into it, it's insane how much of our consumer products are made with some level of exploitation of workers somewhere in the process. Many companies and goods have been found to use resources that come from child labor, exploited workers, or straight-up slave labor, yet we mostly try not to think of it. Sure, you can try to circumvent this, but for the average person, at least one thing you interacted with today was helped made by abusive working conditions. Abusive microtransactions in games. I posted this on another thread, but one of my college friends made her entire end-of-semester project around how awful microtransactions are and how we should come together and vote them out of our games forever by refusing to buy them full stop before going home that same night, and dropping almost $400 combined on Valorant skins and Primogems. And she calls me a stupid sheep for paying a Fexiv subscription. Go figure. Some people criticize women for sleeping around, especially most red pill men, yet they sleep around. That's just hypocritical. I find it disgusting for both genders sleeping around. You'd have a higher risk of Ewell diseases, higher rates of divorces, and you'll be less satisfied if you do decide to settle down. You'd not be happy with your partner because of all the hoeing around.